Hey guys, Jaybird here, and today we're going to be continuing off our tutorial from last day for the weapon porting. So basically, the first thing I'm going to go over in this tutorial will be the export to bin process. So we're going to be converting our anim exports that we just edited last day at the very end of the video, and we're going to be setting them up in a bin format. And then once we've done that, I'll go over how to create an anim model so that the animations can use the anim model in APE, and we'll also really quickly make our weapon model for the third person model of the weapon. And then finally we'll jump into APE, set up our animations, then we're gonna also set up our weapon file. Alright guys, let's jump in it. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and done that to all the anim exports. So now what we're going to want to do is convert them over using our export to bin. So if you haven't done this already, I suggest you watch my tutorial on how to set up the export to bin and how you can basically go in here and convert these to export to bin files, but I'll show you really quickly what I do. I hold shift, I right click, and I go open command window here. So remember, you got to have this installed before you can do this. So you open it up so it's in this directory here, and then what I'm going to do is type in export 2, so the number 2, and then bin, and then space, and then asterisk, which is shift 8. And I'm going to hit enter, give it a second, and boom. Okay, so now if we go and sort by type, you can see we have all the export to bin files right here. So I'm going to copy that. I can close down the command prompt, and you're going to want to open up your Call of Duty root folder. You can do that by just right clicking on your map and go show zone folder. It'll open up to the zone folder of your map, and then you can go back to the Black Ops 3 root folder here. So it's just right after common. So then for the anims, what you're going to want to do is go over to anim export, and I like to go on view models here. You might not have that. If you don't, you can add the view models folder, but I've just been making my folders in here. So I'll make a new folder, and I'll call this one Galil, and then I'm just going to paste all the anim bins in here. We don't need the anim exports anymore, so we're done with those. So that's done for the anims section of this. What we're going to want to do is set up an anim model really quickly. So if you have a pair of Black Ops 3 view arms, I'm not going to be able to provide this for you because I don't own the assets for this. Like, I can't give you the anims, I can't give you the models. So if you guys have the program called Wraith over at ModMe, I'll include a link in the description to download it. You can use this to rip view models out of, or any model really, out of Black Ops 3. So you can use this to get yourself a view model. I've got view hands for Dempsey, so I'm going to just open that really quickly. And then basically what I'm going to want to do is go back to Lime, and we're going to be dragging on our view model onto the view hands. Basically, you want to have, actually, you know what, you probably, if you don't have a separate set of view arms, you could probably just drag that onto the conversion kit and export it using that as well. Actually, I'll show you how to do that instead, because then that way you guys don't have to download that. So here we go. So we'll open up our Galil rig again. So this way, if you don't have Wraith, you don't have to do that. But basically what I was going to have you do is drag the weapon on there and then export the joined mesh, or the joined rig, but not the just one mesh. So here we go. So we're back in our conversion kit that we've been dragging the anims onto. So all I'm going to want you to do is, one more time, select hierarchy here, and we're going to go and drag that script on to get rid of the, yeah, remember it might error, so drag it on again. So basically you're going to want to select the T7 one, go select hierarchy, and then you're going to want to select one mesh. So I'm just going to come down to the Galil one, and I'm going to hold control and left click on one of the meshes. This is so it allows it to export, because it has to have a mesh for some reason. So we're going to go export X model, and then we're going to go and call this Galil anim. So I'm going to export that, and we're good. So a lot of you in the previous tutorial, the one that kind of went over the basics of this, I was telling you to download Wraith and do that. this is an alternative method, so you don't have to download Wraith. So there we go, we got 2 models here. So why don't we convert those now that we've got our models ready? Actually, really quickly, why don't we get our world model done? So I'm going to open up Galil world model. I'm just going to drag the bind file on and export, and that's it. Basically the world models are one-to-one the same, so you don't have to do anything differently to those. So I'll just really quickly export that, and then we'll get all 3 models converted really quick. So I'll drag the bind file on, and oh, this one doesn't have a magazine, so we're gonna have to do the mag world. We'll drag that on. I'm gonna go and create a new one here because I'm gonna have to line up the magazine really quickly. So I will go and join the magazine to the tag clip. So we're gonna go to rigging, skin bind smooth, just like before. And then I'm going to just get rid of the namespace here because I don't like it, and tag clip. We're going to open up joints and middle mouse drag this onto tag weapon. So there we go, that's all set up. You can drag the mesh under the mesh one as well, and we can delete these. So all the meshes are under one group and the joints are under one group. So I'm just going to readjust the clip really quickly. So have the clip, tag clip selected, press W to get the move tool, and just drag this back. Just gonna make sure it's roughly in the right area. Doesn't need to be perfect, so that's good enough. So we got the Galil world model done. So I'm going to select both of these, go select hierarchy, export model, and then we're gonna go to the Galil folder that I made, and we'll call this weapon Galil. So this will be our world model. So we'll export that, and we're done with that. Okay, so now we got our 3 models in here. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna right click in here. Same thing that we did with our X anims. We're gonna go export to bin space asterisk, and we're done. Okay, so we have the bin files all here. Oops, not that one. So I'm gonna copy those, and I'm gonna go back to the root folder that we had open. So I have a shortcut here, but yeah, you have to go into Launcher if you guys don't have a shortcut set up. But what we're going to want to go to is, we're in the root folder, we'll go to Model Export, and I'm going to basically go to View Models here, and create another new folder, and call it Galil. And I'm going to paste the 3 models in there. I'm also going to create another folder for the images. I'm not going to go over how to set up the images because I showed in my model porting tutorial. If you want to do that, I've also got a materials tutorial to kind of go through more advanced material setup. So check out those tutorials if you guys want to go into more advanced detail on that. But basically, I'm just going to really quickly just drag the images from this into here. And there we go. Okay, so now we're on to the last part of the tutorial. So this is just for the anim setup. We'll be going over the weapon file in the next one, and likely going over the actual sounds and whatnot in a 3rd part. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of all my filters here, and I'm going to go and collapse all these. I have a GDT that I call weapons, so I'm going to be creating it in there. So weapons. So what I'm going to do is do the animations just for today. So we'll set up the actual weapon and whatnot later on, but we're going to have to do the anims and the model as well. So I'm going to do a new asset, and we're going to do the X anims. So if you scroll all the way down and go to X anim, we're going to go view model Galil, and then whatever anim we're doing. So view model Galil idle. We'll start off with idle. So in the idle anim, you're going to want to click the ellipses, and it's going to take you to X anim export, and we're just going to want to go to view models, Galil, and idle. So there we go. For the model, you're going to want to go to, it's in model export by the way, so view models, Galil, and then we're going to want not the view model, not the weapon file, we're going to do our anim one. So that's that. Since this is an idle animation, we're going to have it set to looping. And since it's a view model animation, we don't want use bone selected. And for the last thing, we want the type to be set to relative. So that's basically the three things. On a normal animation, you don't want looping. The only ones you want looping are idle and sprint loop. So we'll have that set up, and then I'm just gonna hit save. So that's our idle animation done. One moment here while my APE starts to freeze up. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate this one so it makes it a bit easier. So the next one I'm gonna do is we're just gonna go through our list actually. So actually right here, so our anims, just so I can kind of go through one by one. So the next one up, I'm gonna do ADS down. This one is not looping, but everything else is the same. We just need to change the animation to the ADS down. I can duplicate this and just repeat the process. ADS up. So all these are not looping except for idle, and I'll show the other one, which is just sprint loop. There actually is a couple more animations. If you're doing crawling animations, I should just point this out. If you're doing crawling animations, they also are looping, unless it's crawl in or crawl out. Crawl in and crawl out are not looping, but say we did crawl forward, which I did export those, crawl forward, that one is set to looping. So I'm just gonna really quickly do that. Okay, so we've gone ahead and done all the anims now. I just wanna reiterate that the idle anim is set to looping and the sprint loop is set to looping. Everything else, also the crawl back, crawl forward, not crawl in, crawl left, not crawl out, and crawl right are looping. And everything else is exactly the same. I would like to point out, if you do want to add in note tracks, you'd select this and then you put your note track in somewhere. I actually don't use note tracks myself, but basically that's gonna be it for the anims now. So the next thing we're gonna wanna do is set up the models, and you're gonna wanna do new asset and go down to X model and do view model Galil. And then we're gonna really quickly just set this up. Where would it be? View models, Galil, view model. And I'm not going to go over the textures and material setup. I've covered that in the model porting, so I would suggest that you check that out. And I'm going to just really quickly duplicate this and do weapon Galil. We don't need to create one for the anim model, that was just for the anims. Okay, there we go, we got our two models created. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and just finished doing the materials. If you guys want to know how to do that, I have a tutorial on creating materials as well as porting models, so like I've said before, I recommend that you check those out because I'm not covering it in this tutorial. So you can go ahead and just do it by watching those tutorials. But anyways, what we're going to do now is, now that the models are textured, I'm just going to really quickly go back to weapons, right click on weapons, and go new asset. So this time we're actually creating the weapon file. So we're going to scroll down, actually it's actually near the top, we're looking for bullet weapon. So make sure you select bullet weapon. It's obviously you pick it by whatever you're doing. So if you were going to do a dual wield weapon, you select dual wield weapon or whatever, but you know, we'll cover more advanced stuff like that later. But anyways, we're going to be just doing a basic bullet weapon. There's also melee weapon. There's like a launcher weapon sort of thing as well. So you pick whichever you're going with. But for now, we're doing a basic bullet weapon. So I'm just going to call this Galil. So it's going to create that. We're going to start off by naming it. So the very first, so basically we're going to just go through all the settings here, but a lot of them we can skip over. So Galil, in-game name, I'm just going to type lowercase Galil. We don't need to put a mode name in. Stat name, I'll put Galil. Attachment unique base, I'm actually not sure what that is. Anim type, we're doing a rocket launcher. We're doing an assault rifle, but there's basically I believe default is good for rifle, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we're gonna stick with default. We're not using dual wield. AI description we don't need. This is a primary weapon unless you're doing a pistol or not a pistol. Pistols be included with primaries, but basically offhand would be your grenades, items would be things like claymores and whatnot, alt mode would be if you had like a grenade launcher attachment, gadget, not 100% sure what that is. Hero is a specialist weapon, so you know, pick whichever you're dealing with, but we're going to stick with primary. It's going to be a bullet. You can see there's a couple different other types here. Pick whatever you're going with. We are doing a rifle. There's more stuff here. Penetration. We're going to do about medium for this, so this is how like basically how thick of materials it can penetrate through for the bullet before it would stop the bullet. Impact type, I believe this is going to be bullet large, if I'm not mistaken, for an assault rifle. Offhand slot we're not using, offhand class we're not using. Fire type is fully auto, so you can choose whatever you're doing here. Clip type, bottom. I think this might have to do with the third person animations. We're not dealing with X-cams. You want this to be checked for if you can use scavenger on it. Obviously uncheck it if it's like a grenade weapon or something like that. A lot of this we can just skip over. You might want to use firing cancel slide if you don't have sliding animations, or else it might look a little weird, so that's up to you of how you want to do that. Skip a lot of this stuff. Damage, do not damage owner, we don't need to check that. Ammo, it's a rifle bullet. Armor piercing I don't want to have. Do giving, no. None of this stuff. It's all good to leave. Type options, it's not bolt action. It's not dual wield. Dual wield's only if you're going to be like, I believe you have to have this selected on both the left and the right gun, but we'll go over that in a later tutorial. Probably do an example of a dual wield weapon setup. Okay, continuous fire I guess is for looping, for like a minigun or something like that. Don't need to do any of this stuff, so type options are good. Alt mode we don't need. Melee field should be good. So this should be all good, so I'm just going to leave that blank. We want it to be able to ADS rechamber. All this is fine. Segmented reload would be like as if you were doing a shotgun and you wanted to have it so that each shell would add one in, so it's basically, it does the reload in, then it does a reload loop anim, and then it does reload out instead of just one single reload animation. ADS options, we want it to be able to ADS. Believe we're okay. ADS fire only might be okay, what you'd want if you're doing a rocket weapon. Let's see. Miscellaneous can be used underwater, yes. Cannot go prone if you're doing like a minigun or something like that. Something bulky. You know, pick whatever attachment perks, so you don't need that. Like maybe if it were, let's say you were doing the honey badger, you might want to select silence so that it's always silenced. You can put some additional perks in here, ones that aren't included in here, if you know the names of them. Crosshairs, I'm going to leave those. Lock on options, we're not doing a rocket. Movement type, I'm going to leave that. Aim assist, I'm not going to touch. Ammunition, okay, so I'm going to okay, so this is how many bullets are going to shoot out when you click the trigger once. So I'm going to stick with 1. We don't want unlimited ammo, shared ammo, we don't want. We're going to want to put in Galil ammo display name. I don't even know what that is. Interesting. But I'm just going to do Galil and Galil for ammo name and clip name. So basically if you had 2 weapons and they both had the same names here, then they would share ammo. So, you know, it's relative. I don't want other guns sharing the same ammo as the Galil when you pick it up and you walk over another gun. Ammo clip relative. Okay, so this is basically, if I were to say I want the clip size to be 30, and then for the max stock, I might say 3. So basically what this does is it's going to multiply your clip size by 3. If I have it unchecked, then this is just going to set my stock to 3. So this makes it so it's almost like a multiplier. So I'd say 3 or 4 is probably good for that. I don't know the exact ammo for the Galil, so we might have to change that later off screen. Start ammo, let's say 3. I'm not going to play around with this stuff here. You can kind of go through, it's kind of basic. Ammo regen is kind of an interesting to have there, but we're not doing that. It's not a charge shot. There's no overheating. I don't have any tracers, to be honest. I could probably steal one from the CUDA, because that's all we have really is the CUDA assets. There's no laser that I want to have. Damage. So we don't really have too much to go off of on damage, so what I like to do is base it off of previous Call of Duty games. So I'm going to go into Black Ops 1 and look at the Galil's damage. So I'm going to just go here, go to weapons. So I have the modules installed for Black Ops, that's why I have these weapon files. So I'm just going to go in Galil. If I'm doing, say, a zombie Galil, I'd say a damage of 100 or higher is probably realistic, but a damage of 30 seems something more multiplayer related. So it seems that zombie weapons have a lot higher damage than what a multiplayer weapon. Yeah, see, that's 150 for their damage, and 100 is their minimum. So let's say for the max we'll go to 150, and for the min we'll go with 100. Obviously you can put a whole bunch of different ranges in here, so you can change the damage and range, but if you leave those all blank and you just do the outer ones, then it'll just kind of interpolate the values in between. But basically, since I'm doing this as a zombies weapon, I'm going to want to do with 150, but you saw how it was set to 30 before. 30 probably is a realistic damage for a Galil. Actually, I could probably look up the single player, or actually the multiplayer. Let's see. Do we have a multiplayer version in here? They're all single player. I'm curious, maybe the single player one will be okay. So I'm gonna just, let's just pick the reflex one, because that one will probably be okay. And we'll go damage, 190, so it's reduced, but you know, definitely not as high as zombies. Other damage, it does not impact explode, none of this stuff, so I don't need any of that. There's no multi-shot stuff, there's no projectile. Location damage is how much the multipliers for the head, neck, and all that. I like to leave this just blank, like whatever default settings they have. I'm not going to place you around with this stuff. If I want to go into detail with it, I can look through the Galil's file from Black Ops 1 and change all this if you guys want to. State timers. I'm actually going to really quickly go back to the Galil's state timer, and well, the Galil's weapon file from Black Ops 1. I'm just gonna have a look at the settings here. I don't use an intro fire time, so I'll just search for fire. Actually, it might just be fire time. Oops, not type, time. Fire time 0.05, so it's actually a bit quicker. Fire delay, I don't like having. Fire hold, I don't like having. Burst fire, 0. We don't even have burst. Jam, spin up, spin down, spin rate, slam. Okay, reload. So here's one that we want to have. So we'll look for reload. And reload time is 2.8 on a Galil. If you don't know what it is, you might just have to guess and kind of estimate what it might be. But keep in mind that you could try to figure it out by how many frames your animation is, and it's running at about 24 to 30 FPS, so you know, base it off of that. I just have it off screen right here, but it was 3.8 for reload empty. Reload add time is 2.2. So I just got the weapon file off on my second monitor here, so it's kind of out of the way. There's no reload quicks or any of that. Reload empty add time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's sharing the same reload add time. So there we go. There's no reload quick, reload special. This is stuff if you had like extended mags and stuff like that, so I'm just leaving that all blank for now. Rechamber. we actually don't have a rechamber, but they have the rechamber time set to 0.1, so I might as well keep it there. The drop time 0.6. The raise time is 0.9. The first raise is 0.75. Alt we're not doing. Alt we're not doing. Quick drop. Where is quick drop? Quick drop 0.25. Quick rise time is 0.65. Do we have empty? 0.6 and 0.75. 0.75. Charge, I have no idea what that is, but I'm going to leave it blank. And I just tabbed and it went all the way up to the top. Okay, so I'm going to leave those. Sprint in is 0.3. This seems to be pretty standard, 0.3. I've seen that a lot in 0.3, 0.7, 0.3. Yeah, that seems to be pretty standard for a lot of weapon files. I'm going to leave a lot of that stuff low ready. I'm going to leave all this stuff crawl. See, now if I had the Black Ops 2 weapon file, I might be able to check out what that might be. What I'm going to do here is put my types on, put bullet weapon. So I still got my Galil there, but I'm going to go up to SMG standard and select on the SMG standard MP. So this is the CUDA I'm looking at. I'm just going to get a rough estimate of what crawling animation's speed should be at. So I'm just going to go ahead and change mine. So crawl in's 0.5, 1.1, 1.2, 1.1, 1.2, 1.1, 2.1. Slide, we don't have any sliding anims. I'm actually going to go up to the top and cancel out the slide. Leap in, dive out, swim. We don't have any of that stuff. Okay, so I'm just gonna really quickly go back up to the top, and where was it? There was a fire cancel slide, so we're gonna have that checked. So because I don't have any sliding anims for this. Okay, so we can go ahead and minimize this section. Sprint settings, I'm not doing any of that. None of this. Idle, sway, view kick. Okay, so we're down to X models now. So this is our model that we did earlier. So if I start doing view model, and then you can see Galil's right here. And we did our world model as well, which I called weapon Galil. And you can leave these things blank. Stowed weapon model is basically the model that would show up on your back. I don't have one of those, and I don't really care too much. I think it might use your world model anyways if you leave that blank. Stow model. This is if you have a clip model and it's not, you know how we attach the clip to the view model? If you didn't do that and you had the clip model separate, you can set it in here. Hide tags. So if you have joints on your gun, say you had a basically a red dot and you wanted to hide that, you could put in tag red dot and that would hide it, as long as that's what the name of the tag was, and that would not show up in game. Don't use this to try to mimic dual wield, it doesn't work. Okay, optics, I don't have any of this stuff. Damage models I don't have. That's like if you were doing a shield or something and it took damage. Cosmetic variants. So we don't have any of these attachments, or at least I'm not going to be importing any of them. Camo, I'm going to leave that blank. We'll end up having to create one later, actually, for that. X anims. Now we're on to just putting in our X anims. So what I'm going to do is do view model Galil underscore. I'm just going to copy this, so it'll make it a lot quicker, and then I can start doing idle. This one's also going to be idle, because the empty idle is the same as the idle for the Galil. There's no fire intro. Fire, no fire delay. Last shot's gonna be fire again. We don't have that. No rechamber, reload. Reload empty. We don't have any of these. Remember how I was saying if you had segmented reload, reload start, reload end, all that stuff. I believe reload would probably be your loop anim for that. Reload quick, empty special, okay, raise, so that will be our pullout anim. Drop will be our put away anim. First raise. We don't have any alt raises, we don't have any of that. Quick raise, we're going to do pullout again. The drop, we're going to do put away. Empty, we're going to put pullout. Empty, we're going to do put away. And then for sprint, we have sprint in, sprint loop, sprint out. We don't need to set these unless you checked at the top that you had a different set of sprint anims or whatever for empties. It's usually done with pistols and stuff like that when the bolt's stuck back. Low ready, we don't have any anims for that. We don't have anims for that. Crawl. So crawl forward. Crawl back. Crawl right. Left. And out. Oh, they have empty versions as well. That'd be the same setting for the sprint for that as well. We don't have those anims. ADS fire. ADS last shot will also be ADS fire. ADS up. ADS down. Okay, additive walk. I'm actually going to take the Kuda's additive walk anim because it's just moving the tag torso, so it should be fine. So we'll come in, where's the additive walk? Additive fall, we'll take that one as well. So additive walk, we're going to take the additive jump. So additive walk. Actually, I could probably just do jump, jump land. We are not using any jukes. There's a fall. We're not using slide anims. No leap, no wall run, no double jump or any of this stuff. So that's it for the anims. Anims are all set up now. Pretty straightforward. Melee. I believe these are also anims as well. Anyways, I'm gonna leave them. Oh wait, let's just see what the. Okay, so they're using gun butt, but it's a specific one to the Kuda, so I'm not going to use that. It might default to using the knife model. I hope so. We don't have swimming anims. Effects. I'm going to just steal the Kuda's effects for now, because we don't have any rifle anims, but they're using pistol anims. So we'll just go ahead and take all these. Oh god, the pistol shell effect's gonna look so silly on the Kuda, or the Galil. Unfortunately, we just don't have those assets. Okay, so there's no more effects. Sounds, we'll be setting that up in the next tutorial, so stay tuned for that one. And I believe that is going to be it. There we go, guys. That is the weapon file done. So if you just want to test this out, you're just going to want to save, no converting or anything needed. But if you want to test this out in your map, what you're going to want to do is go over to whatever your map is. Let's say it's the museum map that I've been making. So you're going to want to go and edit zone file. If you haven't already, watch my tutorial on how to set up Sublime, or else edit zone file might not open for you, or it might open in Notepad++, or it might open in just Notepad, plain old Notepad. What you're going to want to do is, you'll see here, this is how I've been adding my weapons here. I'll create a line, and I'll go weapon, comma, and then the name of the weapon. So basically this is this name here, not any of the ones in here. It's this one right here. That would be Galil. If you did Galil ZM, oh, not AM, ZM, like I've been doing here for these ones, if they're zombie specific, what ends up happening is if you do give and then the weapon name, you have to exclude _ZM because the game registers it and sees, okay, it's a ZM weapon, we're just going to get rid of the little prefix there. So anyways, so if you wanted to give yourself this weapon in game, I'll just kind of show you really quickly. I'm not going to go in game, but if you were to jump into your game after you've done that, you want to do a slash and then give and then your weapon name, so Galil. If it were, like I said before, if it were, where is this, Galil_ZM, you would still do Galil, not Galil_ZM. So that's going to be it. Alright guys, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we're going to be doing sounds next time, which will cover note tracks and the actual sounds themselves. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.